Hi guys! So today I thought I would show you what's in my knitting bag. This is the bag and my mom made it for me, and it kind of has this cute fabric with all of these knitting related things on it. And the reason why is actually that I have been to several courses over the last couple of months, and I still have all of my swatches in here, and I really need to find a better storing for them. So I thought if I'm going to put them away, then I can show you what's inside. I went to basically two different courses, and the first one was a course at a school here in Stockholm, which is called Handarbetets Vänner, which means the crafts friends, and it's a school for textile crafts. And it's a pretty old and renowned school, and there I did a knitting course that was focused on very many different techniques, and it was 6 weekends throughout all of the last half of a year, and I still have some swatches in here, and I have to really put them away. The other occasion, of course, was in Edinburgh, and there I went to 3 courses. The one was with Bristol finishing techniques, which I will show you. The other one was SOS for knitters with Clare Devine, which I will show you as well. And then I also did a third one, quotidian color work with Felicity Ford, but I thought that one I will spare for another time and show you the swatch in detail. So I will set up my camera, and then I will show you what's in my knitting bag. I think I will show you the one from my knitting class first that I took here in Stockholm, and then you can see some from Edinburgh. I can start with this one. This is just a little swatch where I made some different patterns, and I was trying to teach myself how to knit with one yarn in each hand, so one in the left hand, one in the right hand. And here is the stick stitches. This one is, yes, I don't really know what the technique is called in English, but here you create a pattern with two colors, but you don't knit them at the same time. So first you would work one row with the one color, and then you would work the next one with the next color. This is the same technique, but on this lower part I have done the same pattern first with only garter stitch, and then it's stockinette stitch. So it's the same pattern but used with different in different stitches. Here I have done some intarsia. Intarsia basically means that you don't carry the yarn with you, but you change at a certain point. And here, as you can see, it's a straight line, and then when you move to the side, one stitch. This one was also another color work swatch where I then also did the stick, and it's a crochet stick, and I used this green yarn to work the stick, and yes, also knit with one yarn in each hand. This one is an older swatch. I think what we learned to do here is how to knit the kile, you say in Swedish, the part for the thumb of a mitten, gusset, I think. If you don't want to knit just a straight mitten and then put a hole in here, then you can work a gusset and do some increases on the side, so you would have more place for your thumb. Here I have been trying some bohus pattern, which is, it's a part in the west of Sweden. What is very typical for this pattern is that you work color work, but you also use purl stitches a lot. So that's what this looks like. And usually this pattern are knitted with Angora yarn, but I used the usual wool yarn, and I quite like it. So was that one. Then I have domino knitting. So if you work small squares out of different yarns and then knit them together, and this would be perfect, for example, a blanket with some scrap yarns. And then I have this one. This was, I tried to do some different kind of short rows, and unfortunately I don't remember which techniques I used, but this is why this swatch looks so wonky, because it's short rows and it's going all over the place. This was the one that I was doing at the course, and then we always also had some homework to do. And in that case the homework was to do the same stitch or the same pattern in different colors. So I started with this one, and this is quite a high contrast, pink and red. Then I tried to do it, I was going for a little bit less contrast and wanted to see what the pattern would look like then. And as you can see, the low contrast means that the pattern doesn't show it all, basically. In the next one, I was using a variegated yarn, which also didn't work out for this pattern as it doesn't show it all. And the last one is a mixture of two different materials. The pink one is a wool yarn, and the black one is a linen yarn, which I held double, and I wanted to see how it would behave. And I actually quite like it. You can't really tell the difference too much, but it worked better than I thought. But as the linen doesn't stretch and it's stranded knitting, it's quite firm. So these were all of my swatches from the knitting class here in Stockholm, and then I have some swatches from Edinburgh Yarn Festival. This one was from a course with Clare Devine, which was called SOS for Knitters. What we learned there was to fix mistakes. So what I did here was raveling down these stitches and changing the direction of the cable. So that's what we did in that course. And I think I have another one here from the same course. Yes. It's this one, and it just looks like a plain stockinette swatch, but we recreated a scenario where you, for example, if you would forget to make an increase or a decrease, when you ravel down, instead of just ripping out the whole thing, you can just ravel down these two stitches and then make the increase or the decrease, and then try to pull the yarn to the different sides. So that it wouldn't show so much. And just in this yarn, it's I think it's Lana Grossa, and it's very round, and as it's a light one, it's really, everything shows basically. So even though it still shows a lot, I think this one is it's a decrease. So it's basically one stitch less from here. So yes, and even though it shows a lot still, it's much better than it was in the beginning. And it was the same for this one. It's a garter stitch swatch, which actually doesn't say you anything, but we did the same here. Just if you would drop a stitch, how you could re-knit it instead of ripping the whole thing, how you can re-knit just the one stitch. This swatch is from another course, which was finishing techniques with Bristol Ivy, and she called that we would go home with a Franken swatch, because we were to prepare different swatches and then bring them to the course and then sew them together using different techniques. So I think we started with duplicating a stitch from the right side and from the wrong side. And if you want to know how you can use duplicate stitch other than weaving in your ends, I will link my last video about how to fix a hole in your knitting, so then you can have a watch in case you are interested in what you can use it. On this side here you can see it's a side seam done with madras stitch, which is magic. I really love this technique. So you can see it's the seam on the back, but on the right side it's nearly invisible. Here we have joined together a stockinette stitch swatch with a garter stitch one, and here it's a garter stitch with a garter stitch. And this one is quite interesting, or that was pretty new for me that you could do it this way. It's a garter stitch, but it's a cast off end with the side of a stockinette stitch piece, but this could be stockinette as well. So I really liked how this one turned out, and this could, for example, be useful if you would do a set-in shoulder. This is the seam, the side seam with madras stitch on a garter, 2 garter stitch pieces together. And this one, I don't really remember. I think here what we did is Kitchener stitch these 2 together. So these were both open, and then we used Kitchener stitch to join. Yes, these were all of the swatches in my knitting bag from my previous courses.